What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch making some money investing in fractional real estate online. As usual, if you were paying attention in the Discord, you probably saw there was a discussion about this already. Collab, which is collabhomes.io or something like that. I have a link in the description of this video. They have paused their, they said they had sent out this email to all of us, anybody who's invested on there, saying they're in a brief pause. And they said, okay, here's this, straightforward explanation. Every 3 years, our, Reg A offerings have to be refiled, which is, they're under what I think people refer to as Reg A plus, which I don't really know the details of it. And, because of that, while that's being refiled and they're waiting on it to be approved, they have to pause trading. But they said, okay, this isn't going to affect your... it's not going to affect the stuff that you already own. The properties are continuing to operate. You'll still get your monthly distributions, which that makes me wonder, is this going to go on for a long time? You're going to get your regular quarterly reports and whatnot. It's just, they say it's just for the new offerings, not our existing positions. And then they, I thought that was interesting. I did a little bit of research into what that is, but then they're like, okay, as a, thank you to our community, we blah, blah, blah. But they're like, hey, we have this property by some 150 Panoramic Way. And the first people who invest so much, minimum investment 500s and blah, 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 you're going to get a gift card and whatnot. And so that seems counter to saying, they're pausing investment. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on there too. Before I forget, please like and subscribe. In the description of this video, there's a link to all the places where I'm currently investing in fractional real estate online, Collab being one of those. Just because I share those links and that I invest in some of these properties doesn't mean that I'm recommending them, or doesn't mean that you should. You definitely want to do your own due diligence on all of these. I do have just a little bit of money on Collab. But that doesn't mean that it was the right move. It's, when I did my first video where I bought a piece of 33 mine, I think I even said, I just bought the minimum amount, and because I was hoping that I'd get some better details and info once I was an owner than I was getting looking at it on the front end. Didn't turn out to be the case. And then I bought a little more when they were giving out, if you bought 500, you got $50 in bonus shares in the Spruce. And so, I did that as well. A lot of times on a lot of these platforms, I'm taking advantage of that bonus money. Somebody had messaged me today about, why am I on RealBricks? And I don't think that it's a particularly good platform, but you'll see in the description of this video, I have the referral link to RealBricks, and I bought on RealBricks. I'm only putting properties in there that I actually own some of, but yeah, I only bought on there because if you invested $100, you got $50 free. It didn't seem like an extremely compelling investment to me, but I thought for $53 or for $50 free dollars, or free shares, because it's not money, they're shares, that it was worth taking a look at, making that investment and just seeing where it goes, and then following it. And that's sort of been a lot of these platforms. I'm just experimenting, which is why you want to do your own due diligence as well. Also in the description of this video, I have a link to the Discord that I mentioned. Please feel free to join that. There's just a whole bunch of us talking about several different platforms and fractional real estate investing in general. There's no cost. It's not a sales funnel. You might get contacted by people in the DMs that are pretending to be me, and just ignore them. I'm never trying to DM you and sell you anything. Okay, so back to what's going on here. First of all, I spent a lot of time just Googling and whatnot, and I think this AI overview was kind of gives the best explanation of what's going on. And it's basically, if you just have these new offerings, which is these Reg A offerings, and they call them continuous offerings, which is, I guess, it's not really continuous because they have to refile every 3 years. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But it's only good for 3 years, and I think that one of the things that I'm curious about is, did Collab think they were going to sell out before now, and that's why they're kind of caught unprepared and having to shut stuff off to refile? I can't imagine that every place that sells securities through this program, I haven't seen a point in time where Arrived just froze all their trading and had to do it. And so my guess is it's because they've been open for so long and not sold out. If they had been selling out quicker, this would never have come up. But it is something that they just basically say you have to have I think it basically replacing your offering circular, because the 3-year-old info might be stale. And so, yeah, I mean, it seems like it is it seems like, because one of the things that I was wondering is it really just this is normal paperwork thing, or is it unusual and something that should worry us, right? That was what I was trying to figure out. And my sense is it's not great news that they had to do this. I think it's just because they're selling out slower than they had hoped. I'm honestly not even 100% sure that that's accurate, but in general, having to do this refiling seems normal. What I don't know is, if they were on top of things, could they have refiled prior to the deadline and made it so they didn't, there was no break in their business operations and they could continue selling? I have no idea. And a lot of times when you're dealing with government entities, things are beyond your control, and maybe there was no way for them to avoid this. I'm just not sure. It hasn't come up with any of the other platforms that I've been on. If you've been on, I know there's a lot of people that watch that have been on like Lambda and have been on Arrive longer than I have, and Arc 7 longer than I have. Have you seen this happen on any of those? I'm curious. Put it in the comments, jump in the Discord and share. But overall, it seemed like, okay, this wasn't really something to panic about. But then, okay, what's this about? You can still invest, right? Well, this is through their WeFunder partnership, right? And I did a video about this a while ago. So this, what they're saying is, I go back here. You can still invest this month. And so this is a real thing. Like, okay, you can still invest. And the first so many people can get gift cards based on how much you invest, through the end of this month. But you have to do it through this WeFunder site, and what you're actually getting on here is, or how they describe it, is a revenue share loan, and that loan is secured by assets of Collab, 150 Panoramic Way. One of the things, when I tried to dig into this, I couldn't really figure out exactly, like, is that loan secured by shares in 150 Panoramic Way, or is it secured, is this a loan against the property itself? I wasn't sure about that. If anybody actually invested in this through WeFunder, I'm extremely interested to hear what your experience has been. You basically get 15% of revenue until you're paid back 2.2x, which, depending on how fast you get paid back, that could be great or it could be terrible, right? If it took a really long time to pay you back, it might be a terrible return. If you got paid back fairly quickly, that could be a great return. So I have no sense of whether or not this is a good deal at all. And I didn't really see, like, well, where could I dig into it? They have these details, but I didn't really see any way for me to try to figure out, if I could do some math and figure out how quickly are we actually going to get paid back. I mean, I guess what I could do is look at the total loan amount. I mean, 15% of revenue, looking at 15% of revenue from the whole property compared to the total loan amount. I don't know. It seems like maybe there's some math to do there. It is not normal. This is not a typical real estate deal. It's not even a typical fractional real estate investment. And then I really wasn't even sure, they're just basically giving you, this I think is the financials for the property itself, not necessarily specifically for the loan. I don't know. I think there's a good chance that I'm just misunderstanding what exactly is happening. What is this one? Did I look at this already? Because I looked at this quite a while back. Oh yeah. I'm really just not sure. So if anybody's dug into this deal a little bit more, I'd love to hear more about it. I probably should do it because they keep running this. I thought, when they had done this before, because they did this one other time where you got some benefits if you had invested in this. And that's one of the things I'm trying to pay attention to more often. If you watch my video about ARC 7 earlier today, I'm trying to take advantage of the $80 of extra money that you get if you invest around dividend day when you're a new investor. But a lot of these platforms, I mentioned the Real Bricks money. A lot of these platforms, because they're new, it's really just part of their marketing budget to give away money to, incentivize you to invest, just like what's going on here. And, I'm not just doing that to blindly invest in deals, but if I can find ones that are maybe good enough, like maybe borderline in that, sometimes that gets me past, over the top. And especially when it's a big one, like the Real Bricks one. Okay, I spent $100, I got $50 in extra shares. Like that's a significant difference, or a significant return on that initial investment. The ARC 7 one, it's 10%, right? On when you do that $800 investment around the dividend day to get an extra $80, like, yeah, that's a 10%. And if I already like the deal, like it's crazy to just pass that up. At the same time, I saw people, if you talk to some people in Lofty Discord, they put money into the liquidity pools really early on, because they were getting some bonus money. And I know at least a few people got pretty big bonuses and then lost a lot of money in those. So there's, so don't let that be the reason that you're investing if it's not giving you that's not what I'm doing, right? What I'm doing is not letting it really impact my investment unless it's, so a significant portion. So when I bought 500 more of this mine property, this 33 mine, I already had, that's just the street name, by the way. This is a student housing property. It has nothing to do with a mine. I was talking to somebody about this and that confused them. But I had only bought the minimum amount initially. It performed for the whole year that I owned it. And so then I was like, okay, I think, I don't love Collab. I don't think I get great answers from them. When I ask questions on their webinar, I got like a bunch of like really non-answers to things. When I've asked questions in their Discord, I don't get great answers. And even when I send stuff to their, I think the best answers come from when you send them, in the little bubble here on the bottom. But even that, sometimes the responses I get, you can just tell a lot of the people that are in the marketing and customer service side of this don't really have any idea about the assets and the real estate themselves. So I'm not going to put a bunch of money on here, but I thought, okay, I have been getting I think on this one it was 7.5% return. I have been getting a 7.5% distribution rate. It seemed like, looking at the financials, that it was, going to keep paying me, although, their financials are pretty thin as far as like the information that they give you. You get like 4 line items, maybe a little bit more. And then, but to think about that, and it's not a ton of money, and okay, I got an extra 10%. I thought, okay, that could be worthwhile, to just do this. And also, my main goal is just experimenting with a bunch of different platforms. And obviously, I'm not going to be right about which ones are good and which ones are bad. I was really bullish on Sol's Lot early on. I thought that was going to be a fantastic platform. And now we have properties that have, we've been waiting for a long time for redemptions for what I can tell is no good reason other than they're just busy, right? And they're not, and they're moving in a direction that's different than where I had hoped they'd go. So, I certainly can be wrong about these, and that's why I'm slowly putting money onto lots of different platforms, obviously trying to make as educated a bet as possible. But so hopefully, and I want to make sure, just because I'm buying something on any of these, it's not like me endorsing them and saying, hey, you should do this. This is a great option. A lot of it is I'm trying to learn. I want to be able to share the experience, right? Because I'm doing this channel to try to really help educate other people about fractional real estate. I want to see this space grow. I want to see, but it's only going to grow if there's more and more of us investing. And then over time, we'll naturally select the best platforms. And, whether that ends up just being Mogul and ARC 7 and Arrived and, buying discounted deals on secondary markets, or, hopefully what we start to see is more and more platforms that are just putting out solid deals. But that's it's only going to happen if we kind of support some of them early on. But I wouldn't be doing that if it were money that I'm worried about losing, right? Like if this $850 disappears, I'm not really going to think twice about this, right? It is a small percentage of the money that I set aside to experiment with these platforms and figure out, what's good, which ones work and which ones aren't. So please don't take me doing a video and saying, hey, I ended up buying some of this as an endorsement of this investment. I only mention this because I had run into this a few times lately. Where people are like, oh, I thought you bought this property. Don't you, you're invested on that platform. Don't you like it? And I said, well, no. And I think I end up talking about Lofty a lot because it's one that I own probably the most properties on. I mean, I have more notes on ground floor than I have, or LROs on ground floor than I have properties on Lofty. But it's the one where I've spent the most time talking about different deals. So I think everybody knows my feelings about that platform, but maybe some of the others that I am putting money into, it's not clear, right? Like I'm not putting a bunch of money on Collab. I don't love it, but I am still willing to experiment and see where this goes, and maybe in the future put money into to more deals. And definitely as there are opportunities to get sort of these advantaged investments where you're getting some bonus, is probably the only time that I would continue, invest any more in any of their deals at the moment, just because I don't find them particularly compelling. The only money I put on Real Bricks is to get the bonus. Arc 7, I'm starting to find deals that I think I'll probably invest more often, but I'm also timing those with the bonus money. Lofty, I'm just slowly taking money off of. I think there are some really deep discounts, though, and so I don't know. I was looking at some deals today, and I'm just not sure how committed I'm going to be when I do start to get some deals selling and getting bigger chunks of cash. I don't know if I'll move the whole chunk off or I'll leave a little bit on to keep reinvesting. Because, like, for example, the 9 Country Club that you guys see me keep talking about, that deal just seems like it is. I can't understand why it's selling for so cheap. Now, it's one of those things where, rats die in rat traps because they don't understand why the cheese is free, right? Like that's the situation that we're in a lot with many of these platforms, right? It seems like, oh, we're getting this great deal and we can't really figure out what the downside is. Well, so that's what I'm trying to find out and share and hopefully help other people avoid. That got really kind of off topic. I just wanted to mention, I think it is, my 2 conclusions about the Collab email today. One, it does seem like this is not a big deal. Maybe it is, a little bit more bad news than they let on, because I think that it's because they didn't sell out as quickly as they had hoped. And I also think maybe they could have been more prepared and got the stuff refiled earlier. Both of those are just speculation on my part. And then, because the being able to buy some of their properties right after they said, well, you can't buy our properties right now. I just wanted to clear that up and say, okay, what you're actually doing, you can't go onto their site right now and buy the 150 Panoramic Way shares. Although it looks like you still can do it. Allegedly, you can't do this right now. But what they're doing is directing you to the WeFunder site, and what you're actually buying is a piece of this revenue share loan. That's it. That's the whole thing. It probably should have taken me 2 minutes to say, but you guys know I always just want to blab out a whole bunch of other stuff about this, what's going on. Hopefully some of that's helpful, though. One of the things we haven't really had, I know I have a couple property or a couple platform launches that are coming up next month, but I haven't really found any new ones lately. So if anybody has found other platforms that I should be looking at, I definitely, would like to have some others. Someone did mention one today that I'm going to look at. So if anybody, I think it was eEstate or something like that. If anybody's invested on there, let me know. Either put it in the comments or jump in the Discord and let me know if that's something I need to be looking into or what your experience is there. Anyway, that's it for me for today. until next time, I'm going to just keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.